The concept of twin flames is one that has fascinated people throughout time. Just the thought that the intense feelings we have towards another person might be more than just a creation of our sentimental side has captured the attention of many. According to what great researchers and enlightened minds have clarified about these connections, twin flames originate from far beyond our present life. They are two parts of the same soul, originally created as one and later divided into two parts that descended to Earth in two separate bodies. According to this theory, these souls live in parallel, experiencing similar realities while seeking each other to transcend this trial and reunite as they were originally, as one. But this apparent tale of union is not only enriched by the beautiful idea it presents, it also implies significant challenges for individuals. Through this bond, people manage to progress in their personal journey as their soulmate serves as a catalyst for confronting the deepest and strongest aspects of themselves. Our twin flame can make us see details and parts of ourselves at a more spiritual level, requiring our effort and a process of healing and transformation that only we can undertake. But at the same time, while this twin flame confronts us with these personal challenges that they also face in their reality, they present us with an honest and transparent image of ourselves, one that often eludes us amidst societal standards and the masks imposed by the ego. This is why many yearn for that precious moment when they can encounter their twin flame, understanding that it's a powerful moment in everyone's life, one that propels them closer to their cherished life goals, and of course, to fulfilling their purpose in this earthly plane. It's important to mention that although this connection is extremely strong, certain doubts may arise upon meeting one's twin flame. However, these doubts can often be clarified through certain signals and signs that are indeed inherent to this type of soul bond. And even though it might seem astounding, the signs that we can perceive, which betray this connection between souls, can even manifest physically, presenting themselves as marks and signs that to the unbelieving eye are nothing more than mere distinctions of our body. However, within the lens of this connection, they can contain messages and a much deeper value. That's why today we want to embark on a journey through those marks that may be indicating to the person who possesses a twin soul connection with another, thus helping them to find that other part of themselves and making the immersion in this unique and enriching experience easier. This journey will be made possible thanks to the teachings of the illustrious Dolores, who in her various works shared important knowledge about the relationship of twin flames and the ways in which we could distinguish the moment of encountering them, as it represents that long-awaited experience that has the potential to change our lives and set us on the correct and perfect path for the evolution of our soul. Number 1. Synchronistic birthmarks. One of the first aspects we must explore amid this profound connection are those birthmarks that both souls present, which are synchronous, meaning they can appear in identical places on the body or present themselves as reflections of the other person's mark without any blood relation in this earthly plane. For many, birthmarks are nothing more than simple genetic traces of the history that precedes us on a blood and biological level amidst the earth and this physical dimension in which our bodies reside. But in reality, these distinctive marks could contain much more than that. According to Dolores and other great researchers in history, the marks we have from the moment of our birth can be strong signs of the spiritual heritage that accompanies us from the moment of our creation, not to mention that they can reflect connections or experiences from other lives that we are not consciously aware of. It is according to this that the possibility was explored that these birthmarks could be associated with that profound connection and that wonderful bond between souls, possibly revealing to the eyes of others and to ourselves the connection we have with another soul and the way in which they were one with us. Although it may sound astounding, it has been evidenced that in many cases these marks accompany souls through their different incarnations. Thanks to the regression work that many people have undertaken, it has been corroborated that the same birthmark appears in the different physical bodies the soul occupies. This leads us to think that the skin and the distinctive marks we see on it are nothing more than manifestations of the truth hidden within us, reflecting our origin, our energetic configuration, and even serving as reminders of the relationships and connections we have with the other souls that inhabit the earth. Among all these signs and all these displays of energetic connection of the being, we find that connection between twin souls, which can be reflected in marks on our body that appear identical to those on the body of the other being, often positioned in the same place and sharing certain common characteristics. Among these characteristics that can qualify these birthmarks as synchronous, we find the size. Whether large or small, they seem to measure exactly the same or differ by a few centimeters, sometimes even millimeters, which leads us to reflect on their origin, ruling out genetic aspects and diving into the depths of spirituality. These marks can even be completely identical in shape, or at least quite similar, leading to confusion if compared, as if one couldn't determine which belongs to whom, but rather appearing as a kind of seal placed on both distinct individuals. In this sense, we also observe that when these marks are not identical, they seem to complement each other. These marks may have patterns that, when positioned side by side or one on top of the other, can form a unique figure or a kind of puzzle. Just as the parts of these two souls fit perfectly together, recalling the nature of their union, these marks can also fit perfectly together, leading people to discard classical ideas about birthmarks to explore a more energetic aspect of them. While some continue to cling to the idea that everything presented in our physical body is a result of biological inheritance from our parents and ancestors, it is events like these that make us understand that what we see on our physical body goes much beyond simple logic. Our skin and the parts of our physical body can simply be the canvas on which the energy accompanying our soul draws reminders of our journey through the world and of what shapes and composes us into the person we are. Another event that leaves many completely astonished is when these marks perfectly mirror each other, as if we took the same pattern and reflected it in a mirror, being identical but with a different visual orientation. These are undoubtedly the most notable signs of our connection with that other soul, which is nothing but your own soul divided and placed in another physical body, which traverses this plane overcoming the same challenges as you and seeking that moment of encounter with its counterpart from which they can unify again. Number 2. Scars. We must understand our physical body as the perfect canvas upon which all connections and events preceding our soul are depicted, seeking from its physical appreciation that our soul continues to bear in mind what it has been experiencing throughout its years of journey and its different incarnations. Scars and marks are not only a testament to unhealed wounds and strong injuries from the past, but they can also have an energetic and spiritual connotation that frames many of the events and experiences that have marked our being, not necessarily in this physical plane, but on a much deeper level. Although our physical body is a clear indication of what happens to us in the present incarnation, it is also the blank space that shows what happened to us in the past, as if our body, whichever we adopt, becomes the book that tells our story and reveals to others what has shaken us from the depths. The soul and the energy they emit are so perfect that even though these injuries appear as wounds of present life, they have actually been orchestrated to show a part of our history and journey that is relevant to our being, making profound reminders of the lessons learned and the turning points of our earthly experience from these scars. And although many times we fail to internalize the value and message of these scars, they are not random, and our soul, from that higher level of consciousness it possesses, can understand the need for that reminder made through the skin of our physical body. Now, understanding this, many people wonder, how do these scars relate to our twin flame? And the answer doesn't have to be very complex, but it is completely fascinating. What happens is that our soulmate goes through the same challenges as us on their journey, and through our energy and individual effort, they are able to potentiate their own work and steer their own process. Imagine at this point a mirror, which accompanies you throughout your life and reflects everything you do, all the energy you exert, and your decisions, in a way as exact as only it could. Now, let's understand that mirror as our twin flame, which not only experiences the same things as you, but in their reality, they end up making the same decisions and experiencing the same things. That's why the reminders appearing on their skin are identical to those that arise on yours. This is quite amazing for those who still remain skeptical, but it remains a reality, a truth little explored by humans, which can open our being to a much higher understanding than what we currently have. These scars may even appear as evidence of strong events that have shaken us in our previous lives, in which our twin flame has accompanied us, and which have left not only in us, but in that other soul a clear indication that what was experienced was significant for our process. Some even say that although in this physical plane our scars may appear for different reasons, seeing how they coincide and synchronize in location, size and shape, they could be reminding us of the point at which our soul was separated from its other half to become a complete being and inhabit a physical body different from that other part. This idea is even more fascinating than the previous one, and leads us to reflect on how it's possible for a physical body to represent, in a particular part of it, a separation that transcends the palpable and speaks of a level of connection much greater than what we can have or understand on this earthly plane. However, what we can assure and internalize is that these scars are points where we are reminded of the journey we have been undertaking, and how it has not been solitary but has ended up resonating in what the other soul, which was once one with us, lives and experiences. Number 3. The gaze. Although we all have a characteristic shape in our eyes and the way we look through them, something that fascinates people is how they end up experiencing the unique and singular energy that emanates from the gaze. We must understand that our eyes serve as a window to our soul and to the internal and energetic aspects that compose us. And although definitively no gaze is the same as another, it's necessary to understand that the energetic signature they carry presents itself in a singular, unique, and quite similar form, from which we can feel a strange resemblance when looking at these two beings, who are different but seem to contain similar or parallel energies within them. Our gaze is an aspect of our being that is beautiful to explore, as through it, many people can perceive the way that soul aligns with the energies of the universe, whether in elevated vibrations or in the low frequencies that exist within it. That's why many people assert that the gaze is a window directly to the soul and the panorama that it presents from within, capable of revealing to a certain extent the soul itself, but only to those who dare to immerse themselves in the depths of this energetic sea that the eyes present. It's beautiful, wonderful, and unique to understand that signature left by our gaze, which is personal and unrepeatable. But in the case of our twin flame, it appears with great similarity, one that is sometimes perceptible to other souls around us, who appreciate from a distance the reunion of these two parts of the same soul. But besides understanding the similarity of the gaze of these souls, we must also explore how it can indicate to each of those parts that they are indeed facing their twin flame. To explain this, we must revisit the teachings of Dolores, who shed light on how these souls recognize each other, although they possess a connection that goes far beyond their simple physical encounter. There have been many testimonies documenting how our being can experience that connection with our twin flame, one that can manifest in an impressive manner, as it doesn't require proximity or a previous physical encounter to shake the innermost part of our being. According to the information available from within, we can perceive the presence of that soul on this plane, sometimes feeling their moods and managing to tune into a perfect frequency that often shows us how thoughts flow through their mind, as if it were a frequency informing the other part of our soul about what we are going through, and from that ability, making it easier to synchronize their being and their journey. This sensation that is generated deep within us from the connection we have with that other soul can make us experience a feeling of familiarity, as if there were a known and friendly presence in the place where we are, even when we are alone. And although, according to Dolores canon, there are people who even dream of that other part before the earthly encounter occurs, this is not the case for everyone. Nevertheless, from that feeling of familiarity, they can understand that it is their twin flame. This sensation of deep connection and familiarity is generated instantly, and they say it ignites that spark between those two parts of the same soul with just a glance. As from that physical action, these two parts can see deep into each other, recognizing energies and life experiences identical to theirs. Moreover, the way a single glance exchanged between these two souls can generate physical and energetic responses in the bodies of both is simply fascinating and has been widely explored over the years. Many have reported feeling a small electric current running through their bodies from head to toe the moment they locked eyes with their twin flame, a feeling that synchronizes in time and intensity with what the other person was experiencing. It seems incredible to see how just a simple glance can generate so much in a person, but many do not understand the depth of the energy emitted through the eyes and how they reflect our interior in an exact and unique way. Number 4. The script of the soulmate. This point may resonate intensely with what some people live or experience in the midst of this journey that will undoubtedly culminate in the encounter between those two twin flames, because it speaks to the way that bond seems to be inscribed much beyond the limits of time and space. Let's remember that even before coming to this physical plane for the first time, our soul agrees and plans everything that will be our experience in this physical plane, agreeing with other souls on the bonds of cooperation and mutual support that will be provided. This is done through situations that have been carefully detailed and delimited in time and form. This is a reality and a process that our relationship with our twin flame does not escape, which also seems to have a contract that mediates between them the way the actions of the other will end up having a strong influence on the process of their counterpart, as well as stipulating how their journeys will end up intersecting to continue from that moment in each incarnation, a joint journey which will not suppress their personal journey, but will ultimately enhance and push that being toward perfection. Let's remember that each of us is immersed in a very personal journey which takes us on a route that at each stop confronts us with profound aspects of our being that are necessary to work on if we truly desire that perfection and elevation of our being to the highest frequencies. But this sought-after evolution is not only necessary to successfully complete the soul's journey through this earthly plane, but also constitutes a necessary point regarding the unification with its twin flame, because both cannot reunite to form what they originally were if they fail to work on those aspects of their being that represent tests for their perfection. We all understand that within us exist dark parts, traumas, and weaknesses that are necessary to work on in order to elevate ourselves to a higher level of consciousness and access a universe of possibilities and benefits for our being. However, few of us truly understand that this is not merely a whim of the soul, but that these aspects and their transformation are linked to the purpose of our journey and other issues such as the union with that other part of ourselves. Every soul that descends to earth does so in search of refinement and evolution. But this is something that is erased from our conscious side until that precious moment when we awaken in consciousness and spirit, so we end up, in some stretches, walking erratically. However, from the moment we open our eyes to this knowledge, our being becomes aware of the task that awaits it, one that may also be accompanied by the unique presence of a twin flame, which also depends on our progress to propel their process, just as their progress drags us to overcome certain issues and challenges. It is here where we truly understand the weight of our journey, our actions, and our determinations, which are guided by this script or this sort of contract that mediates between souls. However, this is not an invisible aspect to the human eye, but it can manifest itself in certain marks, spots, and scars that our skin reveals, serving as a reminder of how, in anticipation of our earthly journey, our soul has prepared everything for us and our evolution. And as it is not uncommon to imagine, these physical manifestations that exist on our skin and in our body, which speak of that script of the soul, are of a similar or even identical nature in the body of our soulmate. Just as if that perfect script were written twice or copied onto the other person, the marks, scars, spots, and other indicators of these energetic contracts are present in the physical body of both souls, showing us that the sensation they experience when they are in proximity to each other is not a mere coincidence, but arises from much deeper aspects and energies of much greater significance. And it's not that both souls will have identical bodies to each other, but rather certain aspects of them will end up synchronizing in a perfect way, just as their processes and realities synchronize in parallel on this earthly plane. Number 5. The seal of their divine union. This point speaks of another of those physical marks that are characteristic of soulmates, and that is related to their origin, the separation they experienced from that other part of themselves, and the way their journey inevitably leads them to reunification, that is, to the new union of them as two parts of the same soul. In this sense, Dolores Cannon indicated that all soulmates are destined to live their lives and realities in parallel until that sacred moment finally arrives when their paths unite, to walk together from that moment on, to become one again. This indicates that more than just a beautiful idea to accept, the connection with that soul pulls us and leads us forcefully to that moment of encounter and the subsequent union of both parts, even when these souls are unaware of each other's existence or have not yet crossed paths on this earthly plane. Just as we mentioned at one point in this encounter, many believe that soulmates present scars, marks, or spots on their bodies that are a strong indication of that moment when the energies of both were separated to constitute each a soul and a life that is complete, but at the same time complementary to the other's life. This idea may not be so far from reality, because even if the being has not developed this bond and its importance from a conscious point of view, these marks can be a faithful reminder for their soul, one that tells them that besides carrying out a journey in this plane, another part of themselves is also doing so, and there is a faithful promise of reunion between them. In that sense, it is necessary to understand that this mark, or distinctive sign of their body, is not only a reminder for their soul, but it is also a promise of that future encounter with their other half. Some people enter into deep fear at the thought that they will not be able to meet that other part of themselves because they see the world as a very vast place where souls can get lost. But as mentioned before, embarking on this adventure in a physical body, the perfect route was already created so that it allows us to grow in knowledge, wisdom, and capabilities, thus ensuring that everything is perfectly controlled and arranged in favour of our journey. And within this perfect planning lies our union with the other soul that complements ours, so we should have no doubts about that desired moment. This makes us see this mark as a sign that can reassure us, understanding that just possessing this distinctive signal tells us that we will achieve that encounter, and also that desired union with the other being. Number 6. Symmetrical aura colours. The aura is a common concept in modern times, as we have opened ourselves as humanity to understand that from us emanates a beautiful and unique energy that ends up forming an energy field around us, which is unique to each one and is marked by the configuration and calibration of our being at a vibratory level. Each of us is composed of highly unique and special energies and forces, which depend on our experiences and the parts of ourselves that our soul is seeking to perfect in the midst of this journey it undertakes. This is why each soul is unique and has a journey that is completely personalized for its being and its needs, which also translates into the shape and colors that are presented within that energy field that surrounds us and that we choose to call aura. In this sense, it is important to recognize that auras vary in coloration according to the feelings, thoughts, and values that govern each of us, as well as the experiences that we are going through and the phenomena that are presenting themselves in our reality, not forgetting the way in which we are choosing to manage them from consciousness. This is why we cannot find two identical souls, or at least that is the premise that is held about auras and how they reflect the personal and internal aspects of each being. However, we must remember that in the case of twin flames, one is a reflection of the other, both in their process and in their energetic configuration and the journey they undertake. So it is common to see how they resemble each other in a completely perfect way, even reaching certain points of being identical. Taking this into account, we must explore the possibility that these energy fields that surround us present themselves to those who can visualize them in a similar way, as if both were synchronized in a way that it is very difficult to differentiate one from the other. Those who have the ability to perceive through their senses these fields, or so-called aura, are amazed to realize that when putting these souls side by side, their fields turn into colors and flashes of light and color that are similar and, as previously stated, almost identical. This is a phenomenon rarely observed, and according to experts, it indicates that one soul is the counterpart of the other in the midst of this perfect bond we call twin flames. And again, here we can appreciate how even in the physical realm, the connection between souls is evident, not being a secret or something that should be kept hidden from others, but rather being a phenomenon that reminds the rest of the souls how deep and complex the universe is for everyone, and how the connections and energetic bonds between each other are present and real and tangible. Number 7. Energetic tattoos. To conclude this journey of knowledge, we must talk about the way these souls seem to have marked their union and their destiny of unification from a tattoo that is more than physical, but is stamped at an energetic level, and that sometimes can be displayed to others as an expression on the skin. Without the need for ink or any other known dye in the physical plane, it is impressive how energy ends up generating this kind of tattoo, that not only represents a symbolic expression, but also contains a great energy that is special and unique to these souls, and that no one can replicate in any form. In this sense, we must understand that often this energetic tattoo is not visible from a simple optic, and only those who are sensitive and can differentiate the energies and energetic variations from one soul to another can truly contemplate it. But although this may not be easy to appreciate for anyone, it is something that we must take into account when trying to identify this type of bond between souls, since it is one of those key signs that are difficult to replicate from other types of connections. However, in rare occasions, we can see how that tattoo ends up manifesting itself in a very subtle and almost imperceptible way to a superficial vision, making it clear that it will not be an image, but rather subtle marks or small marks that seem to draw patterns or shapes of symbols with profound meaning for these souls. Although this is an aspect that has been explored throughout history, very few end up delving into the perfection of these energetic tattoos that adorn twin flames and that are a clear demonstration to the world of the perfect unions and connections that are woven between souls. So if in any way we have managed to identify this distinctive mark that is shared between two souls, we must understand it as a clear and decisive indication of their quality as twin flames. It's important for us to understand that this connection is so unique that it can present symptoms and marks that are completely different from the everyday, confronting skeptics with more spiritual and elevated ideas, opening their minds to be invaded by the light of true knowledge. Our connection with that twin flame is something wonderful to explore and should not instill fear in our being, which can manifest that connection in many different ways, as the energy that moves between both parts is so intense that it completely shakes every aspect of our life and journey. But this energy is completely positive and beneficial for us, so we must understand that if we learn to trust and fully immerse ourselves in this experience, our earthly and spiritual purpose will be strongly supported by the energetic exchange that occurs between us and our counterpart. Let's not forget that our destiny marks us to return to that form we initially possessed. So accepting the arrival of our soulmate is accepting that we are one step closer to achieving the goal set by our soul. That's why it's crucial to open ourselves to detect these signals. And if our sharing of knowledge has been helpful for you to better understand this interaction of your being with another, please don't hesitate to let me know with a like. I'd also like you to stop by the comments and tell me what other marks you've managed to see between twin flames, because your contribution is important in the journey and awakening of consciousness of others. Finally, don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel and take advantage of every new encounter we have from a distance, in which we'll grow together in knowledge and skills. For now, it's time for us to say goodbye, but we'll see each other again very soon. Until then, I send you lots of light and blessings.